my name's Tim Foley. I brought the pastries this morning, and we do bake the calories out there, so you can feel free to eat as much as you want because it won't hurt. Anyways, I was kind of excited when Brian and Deb asked me to come up here because I was an aspiring chef at one time, and now I'm a baker, and we've owned our own shop for 23 years. And when they told me that they came out with an oven that does, a countertop oven that does both convection and also steam, I thought that was a really innovative and good idea because like for me, I'll be an empty nester next year, and so we have a large range at our house, and now, you know, sometimes we heat up things or cook on that and we don't necessarily need to use the whole range. So now you have a smaller countertop item that you can actually cook something a little bit smaller in, and you won't have to use up all the energy that you would have to use for just 2 people. As far as convection goes, you know, like we're a wholesale retail baker, and so in our shop we have a convection oven, and what the convection oven is it's a fan assisted to revolve the air around the product. And so what's good for us is that, like for instance, the croissants that were made today, we have a rack oven that holds 30 sheet pans, which 12 on each sheet pan, so we can actually make 360 croissants at one time in our convection oven. And again, that's rotating the heat from front to back, side to side. So what happens is you get a lot more even heat distribution. To give you an example, if you have like 2 pans with cookies on them in the oven, in this oven particularly, they have a heat, you know, in a normal oven you have just your heat on the bottom. And so what happens is you have the pan on the bottom, and what's going to heat first is obviously the first pan. With this oven, they have heat on the bottom, heat on the top, plus the convection. So the convection is going to be circulating around so that you're not going to have to be watching the oven so closely and changing the pans every 5 minutes and rotating them front to back and turning them around, because you're going to have a lot more even heat distribution, which is very important. And also it makes a lot better for your for the amount of electricity that you're using, because you're not opening and shutting the oven all the time. The other thing that's good about convection oven is it depends on how you want to roast, but if you want to cook with the convection, it's also very good if you want to, for instance, heat up leftover food. Sometimes, like in a microwave oven, you get those dead spots, you know, where you're like heating up something in the microwave for 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, and then all of a sudden you got like one little burn spot, like right in a couple corners. And so with a convection oven, it actually heats up like leftovers and things like that a lot better. So this is going to be a really good oven for that. As far as the steam assist, that's a very interesting idea. I think there's a reservoir on this side where you can add the steam. It goes into the oven, and then we'll steam it again. And what happens when like bread hits a hot surface, it's called the Maillard reaction, which is like a cold or room temperature thing hitting something hot. So like for instance, even like if you sear a steak, you get that same Maillard reaction, and that's what you get when you bake bread. What the steam does is it creates a layer, a protective layer around like a loaf of bread, and that allows it to proof and to rise in the oven nice and evenly. If you didn't have steam in the oven and you were baking bread, what would happen was that loaf of bread would be looking for the point where it was weakest, like the seam or the ends, and it would pop out and it would have a little bit less crust on it, but it would also wouldn't hold its shape as well. And so the steam is very important with baking. So both of those are really good. The other thing that's really nice about convection is that in the baking industry we call it the rule of 25, and that means that if you're baking cookies, for instance, and you normally bake them at 365, then you lower that by 25 degrees. And so you pretty much, if you're on convection, you lower your temperature 25 degrees. And again, that's going to help save with, it's not necessarily going to speed up your cooking time, but that's just going to adjust the cooking time to where you want it to be if you didn't have the convection oven.